Hi guys, it's the time of the week again where we watch your fights and pick the top 3 and number 1 gets 1000 DEC. If you want to be a part of next week's video and giveaway, if you look in the description there'll be a link to our Discord server and you'll see a channel that says Splinterlands Fights. Drop your battles in there and maybe next week you might win 1000 DEC. So let's get into these battles and don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Before we get into the top 3, I want to bring you an honourable mention, and for this game I really like the way how he used the new card without using any Galactus monsters. In my mind I'm not really a fan of the new summoners because I feel they don't bring much to the team, but the dragon one is very good considering it gives you +1 speed. But in this battle here it was a bit of a hindrance at the beginning considering he attacked first and he was hurting his monsters at the beginning, and then all opponent's monsters will attack next and they've already been damaged. But he seemed to get very lucky considering that the main monsters were Sneak and he was attacking the Salty Bear, which had a lot of life and shields, so he had a lot of sustain during the battle, and all the other monsters were just attacking the front line apart from obviously these two. But because they had Lily, the Sneaks were attacking the front line at the tank, so all the damage was in one place. So it's a lot of damage in one round, and over time it just won. And the Lily weren't doing much triage considering it can only attack in one place, and it is funny considering they both went with similar teams and one went with a cheaper team to an extent considering a Lily costs so much and the Galactus summoner you get for free for playing the game. And then yeah, over time he just wins the battle. The battle of the Chihuahuas. But Thorns is so powerful to go for in melee only. Milo is obviously an automatic pick, but if you can just use a card like the Chihuahua or any other card like the Sea Monster if you're playing in Wild, it can put so much damage in this rule type. But this is why Dark Shadow got the honourable mention, because I like the way how he used a cheaper team and it came out stronger. And he also used the Galactus summoner without using any of the Galactus cards, and maybe people might use this summoner this way in the future. But let's get into these top 3 fights. For our number 3 fight we got Silent Riot, and it's the Battle of the Reds. It's funny because normally we think here speed is king and speed matters the most, but in this battle here slowest speed one, funny enough. And he also used the Grum. I'm not a super fan of the Grum. For me he's slow and you don't always get his Bloodlust out, but having the Marty here was a good idea because obviously the blast, it would definitely die first. And then the big 16 damage, I don't think you realise the Grum hit on a 6 speed monster and Grum always misses, so him getting that hit was so lucky and it definitely set up the game for the victory. And then the Grum slowly was able to whittle through the team. And considering those shields, the Bloodlust with the Bloodlust with the blast is definitely a good combo, and it was just doing so much damage over time. And the thing is, there was a little bit of a comeback from him hitting the backline, but then obviously the Grum was getting unchecked and was putting loads of damage out without dying. And this is why I like this battle here, because it shows that you might not necessarily need so much speed because it could be a detriment to you down the line and you might be sacrificing more damage potential. But let's get into number 2. It seems this week Superman was putting out so many good battles because he's not just got the number 2 spot, he's got the number 1 spot, a little spoiler for ahead. But this battle here, he went for an unconventional way to play range, and I feel a lot of people would love to go for this if they could. But he had 2 damage types, and I feel the 2 damage type monsters are going to be very key, like for Splinterlands in the future, because as you can see here, he's just doing 2 lots of damage from the tank, and the return fire was just so beautiful in this rule type because if you can see here, the opponent's team is very quick, so Superman is missing a lot of the damage he's doing, but every time he gets hit he's doing damage. So eventually his team's going to win. And if you see the first 3 monsters, they're more of a tanky option over just being a range card, so it can survive a lot. And then it's basically a battle of like sustainability, and I think a lot of people love this raw card at the moment because it's definitely a strong range card, because having the scatter shot double tap, it can do a lot of things, and it can randomly hit 2 monsters and take them both out. But Manny's team was just too strong with having the 3 different tanks, the War Chang, the Galactus card, and also having the dry bones. And it's kind of unique to see having the new rule type allowing you to play the Galactus cards without having to use the new summoners, because the new summoners are kind of bad. So being able to use them with the OP summoners that we already have, it will bring in new battles. But this was number 2, and let's get into number 1. Like I said, it seemed Manny was doing so many good battles this week, because here's a very unique one. If you can see, that his opponent went for an amazing summoner, +1 to all types of damage. Went with a great long tail strategy team when it had 2 forms of Shield Repair, 3 forms of Resurrecting, and he had Kate at the back, which is a great Galactus card. But Manny decided to go, I'm going to have a Void Armor Taunt and have a very 5 mana tank, and my team's going to win. Like, if you look at his team on paper, it shouldn't really win, but somehow it just does well. And the long tail just slowly dies over time. The Boshan is doing a lot of damage from the reach position, and this card's just not getting attacked. So he's gonna get his Bloodlust, and Longtail's just getting hurt so much over time. And considering the rest of the team is just utility to keep the Longtail alive, and and most of it's magic, so the Void just came in so handy here. And having a little bit of triage helps a bit of the sustain with the team. But once the Longtail goes, the rest of the team's pretty much easy kill. And a lot of the team, Manny's team, has a lot of damage and a lot of life. So it shows you don't necessarily need the biggest tank in the world. Having the biggest brain in the strategy goes a long way. And then once the Longtail dies, everything else is just fodder. Like, it's just, this card is just so funny for me because it's just so out of place. It's low mana and it's not really doing much in this situation. This card just been the MVP, just being the big distraction that it is. And then Manny just wins the game. And if you calculated how much Keith's team would cost you, it's probably like 5 times, 10 times the amount of what Manny's team was. And Manny's team was so much more efficient. And that's why it was number 1. And congratulations to Manny for winning 1000 DEC. Congratulations to Super Manny for winning 1000 DEC. And guys, if you want to be a part of next week's video and giveaway, the link in the description to our Discord server is there, and all you got to do is enter your battles into the Splinterlands fight channel, and maybe next week you might be winning 1000 DEC. And remember guys, subscribe for more play to earn content, and we'll see you next time.